What if the world's most famous philanthropist, a man who smiles and talks about saving lives, was actually working to reduce the number of people on the planet? 3 billion people have heard this theory. Today we open the file. Bill Gates, co-founder of Microsoft, one of the richest humans to ever walk the earth. Since leaving Microsoft full-time, he has poured tens of billions of dollars into the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, focused on global health, vaccines, and poverty reduction. Noble stuff, right? Maybe. But here's the thing. Somewhere between a 2010 TED Talk, a global pandemic, and a lot of very suspicious timing, Bill Gates became the face of one of the most widespread conspiracy theories of the modern era, that he is orchestrating a secret agenda to depopulate the planet. Is it lunacy? Is it misunderstood science? Or is something else going on entirely? Listen up. We're digging in. All right, here's what the official record actually says, and we are citing every single word of this, so nobody comes at us later. Bill Gates gave a TED talk in 2010 called Innovating to Zero, about reducing carbon emissions. In that talk, he mentioned world population and said that improved healthcare and vaccines could slow population growth rates by reducing child mortality. The logic: when families know their children will survive, they choose to have fewer kids. PolitiFact reviewed that exact video and concluded Gates was not suggesting vaccines kill people to reduce population. He was arguing the opposite. Better health leads to lower birth rates. Demographers actually call this the demographic transition model. It is standard, peer-reviewed development economics. On the microchip front, in 2020, a Yahoo News/YouGov poll found that 28% of American adults believed Gates planned to implant tracking devices in people through COVID vaccines. Gates himself appeared on CBS News and flatly denied it, calling it dangerous misinformation. "We need to get the truth out there," he said. Reuters fact-checkers independently reviewed the population quote circulating online and confirmed it was taken wildly out of context. Gates was talking about slowing population growth, not eliminating human beings. Aramit University's Fact Lab reviewed multiple articles claiming Gates planned to depopulate the Earth and rated them false, noting that the Gates Foundation's entire mission is built around improving and extending human life. That's the establishment view. And honestly, it's not nothing. There is real evidence here, just not the evidence the internet thinks it found. Now here's where it gets genuinely complicated, because some critics aren't tinfoil hat types. They are researchers, journalists, and public health experts raising real questions about power, money, and influence, and they deserve a fair hearing. First, the Gates Foundation's sheer size is unprecedented. No private individual in history has had this level of influence over global health policy. Critics argue that Gates, an unelected billionaire, has effectively shaped who priorities, vaccine rollout strategies, and global health funding in ways that serve specific pharmaceutical and technology interests. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's a documented concern raised by global health governance scholars. Second, Gates has invested heavily in vaccine manufacturers while simultaneously advocating for vaccine policy. Critics, including some on the mainstream left, have called this a conflict of interest. When your foundation funds the research, funds the rollout, and helps set the policy, you're not just a philanthropist anymore. You're a power player. Third, Gates's connection to Jeffrey Epstein, which Gates has admitted to and expressed regret over, has fueled genuine questions about the social circles of the ultra-wealthy and whether philanthropy is always what it appears to be. These are not crazy people asking crazy questions. These are legitimate concerns about accountability, transparency, and the outsized influence of unelected billionaires on global policy. You don't have to believe in a depopulation death ray to find that worth examining. Okay. We've done the responsible part. We cited the Reuters fact checks. We gave Bill his moment. Now, and I cannot believe I'm doing this, we have to talk about the theories. I've got someone here who has opinions. Go ahead.
Thank you. Let's start with the 2010 TED Talk. Gates said on camera, in front of an audience, that if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 to 15 billion. Now, the mainstream says that's about slowing population growth. I'm asking, why does the sentence about reducing a number come right after the sentence about vaccines?
He was talking about carbon emissions. That was the whole talk.
I know what the whole talk was about. I'm talking about what he said. Words mean things. And when a man worth $130 billion says vaccines and reduce population in the same breath, You don't just wave it away because a fact-checker told you to.
Get a load of this. Fine, theory number 2, hit me.
Microchips. Now, before you laugh, look at what Gates actually funded. A project at MIT developing dissolvable, injectable microneedle patches that store vaccine records under the skin using a dye called luciferase. That is a real project, funded by the Gates Foundation. The question isn't whether the COVID vaccine had a chip in it. It didn't. The question is, what is the long-term vision here?
Luciferase, named after Lucifer. You cannot be serious.
I didn't name it. MIT named it. It's a bioluminescent enzyme used in biology research. I'm just telling you what the documents say. The Gates Foundation funded a vaccine record storage system that goes under your skin. That is not a conspiracy theory. That is a press release.
Okay, I'm going to need a minute. Moving on. Sterilization, go.
Southern Poverty Law Center actually documented this one. Commentators, including Alex Jones, accused Gates of using vaccines to sterilize populations in the developing world. Now, Jones is not my source, but here's what is documented. In the 1990s, the WHO ran a tetanus vaccine program in several countries that critics claimed contained HCG, a hormone that, combined with the tetanus toxoid, could potentially cause immune responses affecting fertility. The WHO denied it, but the Catholic bishops of Kenya published a letter saying they had the vaccines independently tested.
Okay, that I had not heard before. But Gates wasn't even running the WHO in the 90s.
No, but the theory is about a continuity of intent. The claim is that the global health establishment, which Gates now effectively bankrolls, has a long history of using vaccines as cover for population management in the global south. The Gates Foundation stepped into an existing infrastructure. That's the claim.
Oh, it gets better, doesn't it? What's next?
Epstein, look at the timing. Gates met Epstein after Epstein's 2008 conviction for soliciting a minor. He didn't accidentally shake hands with him at a party. He flew on his plane, attended dinners at his mansion. Gates has said he regrets the relationship, but his own colleagues reportedly warned him it was a bad idea before the meetings continued.
So the theory is Gates and Epstein were, what exactly? Running some kind of eugenics book club.
Theory, and I'm presenting it as a theory, is that Epstein positioned himself as a broker between ultra-wealthy individuals and scientific institutions funding human genetics and population research. Epstein donated to MIT, to Harvard. He described his personal philosophy as involving the seeding of the human race. The overlap between Epstein's stated interests and Gates's stated interests in population and genetics is notable.
I did not have eugenics book club on my bingo card today, but here we are. Last one. Give me the big one.
Digital ID. Gates has publicly backed a global digital identity initiative called ID 2020. The stated goal, give every person on Earth a digital ID linked to vaccine records. The stated reason, humanitarian, helping undocumented people access services. The concern, who controls the database, who decides access, and notice, the rollout is being tied to vaccine compliance.
So the theory is, vaccines are the mechanism, digital ID is the control grid, and Gates is the guy holding the keys.
I'm not saying that's what's happening. I'm saying that's what the architecture would look like if it were happening. And the architecture exists.
I need to go lie down. Here's where the mainstream, the critics, and the conspiracy crowd actually line up, and where they split. Everyone agrees that Bill Gates has unprecedented, unelected influence over global health policy. That's just a fact. Everyone agrees that the 2010 TED talk quote about vaccines and population has been widely shared in misleading form. Where they split, mainstream sources say Gates's intentions are purely humanitarian. Alternative critics say the conflict of interest between his investments and his policy influence is a genuine accountability problem. Conspiracy theorists say the whole thing is a calculated long game to surveil, control, and ultimately reduce the global population. The microchip claim is false as applied to COVID vaccines. Fact-checkers across the board confirm this, but the Gates-funded MIT luciferase microneedle patch project is real, and the gap between this is a medical records tool, and this is a surveillance tool, is narrower than most people realize. The sterilization accusations against Gates personally are not substantiated, but questions about the history of population-focused interventions in the global south, tied to Western-funded health programs, are a legitimate area of historical and ethical inquiry that goes well beyond Gates himself. All right, here's the cold, hard, evidence-based truth, and I'm telling you this whether you like it or not. Bill Gates is not running a secret depopulation death program. The quote from the 2010 TED talk was taken out of context. He was talking about slowing population growth through better healthcare, which is standard demographic theory and has been verified by multiple independent fact-checkers. The COVID vaccines did not contain microchips. That claim is false, full stop. And this is a big but, the total dismissal of every concern about Gates is also not intellectually honest. The concentration of private wealth in global public health policymaking is a legitimate governance issue. The Epstein connection is troubling and has never been fully explained. And the vision of a world where vaccine compliance is linked to a global digital identity system is something that deserves serious democratic debate, not just a press release from a billionaire's foundation. The truth, as always, lies between the hysteria and the press release. Gates is almost certainly not a cartoon villain. He may well believe he's saving the world, but good intentions from a man with that much unchecked power are not a substitute for transparency, accountability, and democratic oversight. The question was never, is Gates evil? The question is, should any one person have this much influence over global health? And the answer to that question is a hard, uncomfortable no. That's the Bill Gates depopulation file, officially closed, unofficially wide open. Drop your theory in the comments, hit subscribe if you want the next classified briefing, and remember, the truth doesn't care